In this video, we are going to talk about the different change workflows in Part 3. This includes pricing documents, budgets, and review of pay applications or certificates of payment. There are a lot of different workflows that we have in Part 3, and depending on how your firm operates and the scope that you have on a project, you may or may not use all of them. I'm going to walk you through all the different document types, talk about pricing, managing your budgets, issuing a change order, and certifying or reviewing pay apps. If some of these are not applicable to you, that's fine. We have a lot of different users that use as much or as little as they need to, but I will walk you through the entire flow. So let's start at your organizational level in the top left. Go down and click your organization. Under the settings area, this is where someone with admin permissions, so just a reminder under your people tab, some people are admin and some are members. So if you have admin permissions, you can set up some additional document settings here. Setting them up here, make sure that once you create your project, you're good to go and everything's in place. This includes generic information that would appear on your cover pages, your disclaimers, which will also appear on cover pages. So for example, if you have a change directive disclaimer that you normally use, make sure you get that information in there and we will automatically pull that in for you. Cover pages. This is where I'll talk about the different naming conventions. All the documents that you see listed here are different naming conventions, but it's not necessarily what it is for you. So for example, a proposed change, some people may call this a contemplated change notice or a proposal request. And you can update your titles here, your IDs, and then assign the disclaimer that is associated with that document type based on what you input from your disclaimer here. Change directives, sometimes called construction change directives. Pricing documents are quotations from a general contractor, which some people call a proposed change order. So this is an area where it lets you revise all of your naming conventions. You can always do this at the project level as well. If you have a project that has specific names where the owner wants certain things, then you can update it there as well. But this gives you a good foundation at your organization level so that when you have your projects, you're ready to go. Under advanced settings, I will scroll down here to default reasons. When you create a change or instruction document on Part 3 or pricing, we ask you for a reason for the change. We have a default list of reasons. You can modify and add as many as you want. Again, getting this set up at your organization before you create the project is a great idea. Once you have all of this good to go, you can create your project. I'm going to dive into a project that I've already created and we will walk through the different workflows. As you know by watching other training videos, we've created the project. We have all of our team members added with our consultants, our owner, and our general contractor. Under the settings area, we've gone through and updated our contract value. This is very important if you're issuing change orders using any of our budget features or reviewing pricing documents. We want to make sure that we have the correct starting point. If you are bringing a project into Part 3 that already has change orders issued to date and it has impacted the contract value, let us know what the cost is and you can click edit here and update your authorized changes to date. We just want to make sure that we have the right starting point if your project's coming into Part 3. Under this Generals tab, you'll see all the workflows that you enabled when you created the project and with the different naming conventions that you assigned at your organization. Similar to your other workflows, make sure that you get all of your assignees set up on the right-hand side. That way, when you create documents, these people are already notified. So for example, if I created a proposed change and I involve mechanical, as soon as I added mechanical, Cameron would get a notification that we have something to collaborate on. This saves you time and avoids you having to do that every time a document is created. Next, we'll move into budgets. If you are utilizing our change order or pricing review workflows and you have a budget on your project, make sure that you get these set up at the beginning. So this budgets area is for contingencies and allowances that you have on your project. When you're adding them, you can click this blue plus add button in the top right corner, and you're going to just give us some generic information. The title, the starting balance that you have, and then the type. So we give you this little yellow pop-up here as a reminder. An allowance is within the contract price. So if you are associating, maybe you're taking 8K from an allowance, doesn't impact the contract price. If I'm taking 8K from a contingency, it will have a little look, make sure that you know if yours is an allowance or a contingency. Some people use those words interchangeably, but this is how it functions in Part 3. So I will say this unforeseen conditions is an allowance, and I will click add. I already have two other budget types in here. Some of them have items issued to date. I could see here by clicking view all transactions, anytime money has been taken from this pot. Under distribution groups, this is where you can pre-populate who you want to be copied on different document types. So for example, I'll just say this is for changes, instructions, next, and these are all the different people that will always be notified anytime I create one of these documents. Now I don't need to add them manually each time. We're just going to automatically pull those in for you. Under the advanced settings, this is the default reasons that I was talking about at your organization level. This is where you have an opportunity to make your own reasons. Sometimes that's required based on your owner or the contract type. You can always modify that at this level. Let's go back to the logs page, and I'm going to create a document. I'm going to create a proposed change. And in Part 3, all of your documents are created by clicking this plus sign in the top right corner. I'm going to create a proposed change here. Then you're going to decide which consultants are involved. So I'll say this one involves electrical and architectural, and click create. So I have the assignees already set up. These people were notified that we have a document to collaborate on, and they've received email notifications and tasks in Part 3. Where all of your cover pages are going to automatically be created for you as you give us content. So every time you add a drawing or an attachment to this proposed change, we're building out the content. I can see this is already the disclaimer that I input at my settings level. I have the reason. We'll auto-populate the date for you, change, and the description that I just entered. We're also pulling in that distribution list. Ready. So let's say my team and I have worked in the background. We have new drawings that we're going to issue. I'm going to click add files here. I'm going to add drawings. If you have a drawing or a sketch that you are uploading, make sure you select that add drawings button. Our AI tool will automatically detect the drawing numbers and the title. You can always correct it here, and then give a little description of what has changed on the drawing so that we can add that context to your cover page. Give us the issue date of the drawing. And if this was a sketch, you could simply select that drop down and say it was a sketch. Or if it was an attachment, you could do that as well. So I will upload that. And all you're going to do is keep building out that content of your change until you're finished. One of the big areas, the big benefits of Part 3 is collaboration with your team. This electrical consultant is not part of my company, but we do collaborate with them. Your consultants have the opportunity to leverage our cover pages in Part 3, but we know that your consultants also have their own way of doing things, and we don't necessarily want to interrupt their workflow. We just want everyone to come into Part 3, work together, get documents out quicker, and communicate and collaborate. So either your consultant or you can come in and upload that information. If they don't want to use our cover page, all they have to do is click edit, use external cover page, and just tell us some information. Let's say this is my electrical proposed change number 9, and I'll update that. So now we've disabled the cover page, and I'm just going to be adding files. If their attachment includes any drawing or sketch, even if it's just one, make sure you click Add Drawings and not Add Attachment. The Add Drawings is what lets us version the drawings here. So even if it's not all files in that PDF, just make sure you add drawings. Then you can just drag and drop the document and we will split that out automatically for you. Even if it's one combined PDF file, we'll split that out. Similar to the uploads that I showed here in the architectural area, the concept is the same for your consultants and any drawing that you're uploading. So we've detected the drawing number, the title. They can give a description of the change if they want. They could also mark something as a sketch. So let's say maybe this is a sketch, it's not a drawing, and I'm going to link it to some different drawings. I'm going to say this is linked to drawing S 1.5, and I could also link it to drawing A 1.1, and then save and next. And you can link it to as many drawings as you need to. And when you're ready and you've given your details and you've let us know if it's a drawing or a sketch, then just click Upload All. And now we are bringing those into your document as well. You can see all the different revisions of the drawings, and we've also identified this one as a sketch. While you're collaborating with your team, don't forget that you can use this comments area in the bottom. You can mention someone here. So you could either choose all assignees on this, or you can call out individual people. We could say, what light fixture, and then send them that comment. Maybe someone can share the cut sheet with you. They can come in and reply. You'll see if emails were delivered or not, if they were opened. This is a really good area to communicate with the team because it keeps all of the conversations and context at that document level. So later on, when you're on site and these lights are being installed in 4 months' time, you can come back here and say, what was the decision? Why did we choose to have black housing or a recessed lamp here? That kind of information would always be stored at the document level and not lost in your emails. This approve and needs work is internal. No one would see that. But if you think electrical's drawings look good, they did everything, you can mark this as approved. And all that means is they'll get a green check mark. It's only internal, but they did their job, they're done. If it needs work, then you could let them know, hey, you missed this. We actually needed you to add these 2 pot lights in this location. So again, you can mark that as needs work and use the comments area below. But if it looks good, just mark it as approved. Once you have all of your information built out as well, you can put your signature on there. If you want to stamp in Part 3, you could do that and apply your seal there if you want to. And you can also add reviewers. So this is the proposed change. Maybe I don't need the general contractor or the owner to sign off on it. If I do, or if I want someone internal, I can click Add here, and I'm going to bring in someone to sign off. This is the owner and the general contractor. I've selected Angela, and now when she comes in, she will get a task in Part 3 to come and review and sign this document. So I will send this for Angela's review, and I can click Continue. And now Angela will receive a task to come and review this. If Angela prefers a PDF, I can just create a PDF and send it over as well. But let's say we're happy to issue this proposed change for the washroom lighting revisions. When you click Issue, we will ask, do you want to make these drawings the latest? Since this is a proposed change, maybe I don't just yet, because I want to get a quote from the contractor, see if we agree with that quote before I actually decide to make these drawings the latest. So I will just deselect these architectural ones, for example, and then I'll click Continue. It will just give me a little warning that I'm missing Angela's signature. I can revise the issue date. So if you're backdating documents, you can also revise that. And you can include a distribution message if you want to. So for example, you could say this is the change that we talked about on site and at the OAC meeting, and then they get that context in their email and click Issue. So now this is all being combined as one PDF file in Part 3. We're taking the cover page, all of your attachments you gave us, and anything that your consultants gave us, and we are sending it to the distribution list as one combined PDF. We are giving you the delivery status of everyone on your distribution list. And then next, you'll see in the top right here, we have an orange price it button. So now that I've issued the change, let's say a week later, the general contractor finally has a quote for me. Great. They can come in and they can upload that quote by clicking price it, or you could do it as well. So it is very collaborative. Your GC can come into Part 3, see where things are at. They won't see if you have a proposed change unless it's issued. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that when you're in Part 3, any documents that are open and not issued, only you and the consultant team can see that. That way we make sure that the GC and the owner only see things when you're ready for them to see it. So let's click price it and let's take this proposed change to the next step. So this is for washroom lighting revisions. I'll skip the description. Because I'm creating it from here, I'm automatically linking these documents. If there was an impact to business days, I could do that here, give that information. But then all you're doing is just dragging and dropping any of the documentation that the general contractor gave to you as backup for the quotation. So I will just drag and drop a random file here. In this line item area below, this is where we give you the opportunity to break things up as much or as little as you want to. And the reason for that is this budgets area. So if this was a straight contract overage, I could just say this is from proposed chain 9 washrooms, give the reason for it, the discipline associated with it, and I could just say this is $10,000, it's a straight contract overage. But if I want to categorize different areas of this change and figure out what is the pricing breakout, because I want to associate it with a different budget, this is the opportunity to do that. So let's say drywall is $10,000, lighting is $5,000, and I'm going to pull this from the budget that we created earlier of this unforeseen conditions. As soon as you pick a budget type that's not contract overage, you'll get this extra pop-up at the bottom. We're going to remind you that this is an allowance. I originally had 52K. I'm taking 5, so I'm left with 47K. The new contract overage is $10,000, but the total cost of the change is $15,000. You can also add any additional backup here if you want to. And again, don't forget you have the comments area under here. That is for you and the consultants only. Now that you have the price from the general contractor, the next step is for you as the consultant team to review it. So I'm going to click request review. And because this contains electrical items, I need my electrical consultant to tell me if they think the price is okay. So I will click submit. On the right-hand side here, you'll see this review area pop up. So under architectural, I can set my status if it's accepted, fair and reasonable, or rejected. So I'll say that the drywall is fair and I'll submit my review. Maybe electrical had a look at this, they've marked up something, they don't agree with it, or they want some additional information. When they come in here, so I'll just show you what that looks like. Because I'm Prime, I can respond on behalf of other consultants. But if electrical logged in here, they can only respond on their behalf. And maybe they rejected it with comments. So they could say the annotations and then submit their review. If you scroll up a little bit, you'll notice that this button is blocked, and that's because one of the items was rejected. So if there's anything rejected on this, we don't let you move forward with it. So in that case, you would go through that revision flow. This is an opportunity for you to tell the GC or anyone else why it's being rejected. I have my notes here. I can add additional notes, say revise and resubmit ASAP, and then request that revision. So now we're at quote 18.1. I can see my revision notes here, and you can always look at the previous quote if you need to compare. Their general contractor is just going through that same flow until you guys agree on a price. They would request the review again, and when you're ready and you're happy with it, then you can proceed. Once everyone has signed off and they're happy to proceed with the cost, click accept. You can confirm pricing here. If you're pulling from a budget, we're going to give you this additional breakdown here if it's an allowance or a contingency, just so you remember what's going to happen. And this is an opportunity for you to tell the general contractor as well if something has been approved, and then click accept pricing. So some people in part 3 stop here. If this is a CM or developer, and maybe the pricing is between the owner and the GC and you're not involved in change orders, you don't need to keep going and follow this create change order flow. It really depends on the scope of work that you have on your project. So on the logs page here, maybe I'm just going for a proposed change. I have the initiating document, the cost, who is involved with it, but I'm not going to carry it to a change order. That's fine. It's whatever flow that you want and that you need. So you just keep following the workflow along as much or as little as you need to. But let's say I will issue a change order. I'm going to click this orange Create CO button, and I'm going to give it a title here. Again, I could probably skip the description because I'm linking all of these together already, but I could say there was a schedule impact. You could say, this is adding 2 days to the project schedule. And at this point, I'm not going to bother adding the consultants. We already participated in this quotation review together, so we no longer have to do anything. We're good to go. So that create change order process is more of that formality and get this paperwork out the door because we're already pulling in this information for you. You click create change order right from that document. So we've automatically pulled it in. If you click edit attachments, you can see any other approved pricing documents that you want to pull in. So if your owner says, just give me a change order at the end of every month, I don't want to get them all the time, then you can add as many as you want to that, and we will just give you a breakdown. Okay, quote 18 was 15K. This one for asbestos was 29K. We'll tell you the contract overages, any remaining balances in those budgets, either an allowance or a contingency, and the impact to the contract. If you don't want to share the remaining balance, you can toggle that off. So for example, if you have a contingency that's outside of the contract price and you don't want to share that information, you can toggle that off. So from these 2 pricing documents included, we have an overage of 31K being added. So we will always tell you the original authorized changes to date and now what that authorized changes to date value is, including this one with the new total revised value. And if you add any days to the project schedule, we will give you an updated end date. Similar to the proposed changes that I mentioned before, you can add a reviewer if you need to. We will add a line on the change order for them to sign. We're pulling in your disclaimers and your distribution list as well. If you have any additional documents to attach, you can do that here. But you can see that we brought in all of the different files that were related. So I created proposed change number 9. From that, I created quote 18.1, and from that, I'm creating the change order. So all of these documents are already being brought in for you. When I look at linked documents, I can see the breadcrumbs of how this change order came to be. So when you're ready to send that to the reviewers, you can set a due date. Make sure you do this for all of the documents, especially if you're using our reminder schedules. Click send for review, and then Angela will get a task in part 3 and an email notification that she has something to review. You could download it if Angela or anyone prefers to have the PDF copy. And then when you're ready, you can click issue. You can include that distribution message and then send that out. So this is all being sent out as one combined PDF document. we would have this change order cover sheet that automatically got generated for you, and any of these attached files here that we pulled in as well. So if I go back to my logs page now, I can see that I've completed the flow. I started with proposed change number 9, and it became change order number 8. That change order was a total value of 44K. It added 2 days to the contract schedule. You can always export this information if you need to. And also at the budgets level under settings here, project budgets, you can export this at any time. And as I showed before, you'll always see your transactions here. So if I click view all transactions, I can see that I just took 5K from my unforeseen conditions pot in CO number 8, and these are all quick links with the time and date stamp that transaction occurred. So you can export that as a CSV if you ever need to share that with the owner or just have it for your records. I also mentioned when I was creating that proposed change and issuing it that I wasn't sure if I would mark them as latest because who knows if that would actually turn into a change order. But now that it has, I'm going to go back there because I'm ready to make it actually the latest. So these are the 2 that I didn't mark as latest, and I know that because it doesn't have this green tag here. So what I can do is go in and click View Drawing, and from PC number 9, I'm going to mark this one as the latest just by clicking those 3 dots. And then I can go and do that with this drawing here too. So it's quite easy to come in and mark something as the latest once you feel ready to do that. And similarly, if you cancel a change, you can come and remove that as well. So that workflow was to create a proposed change. The concept for a change directive is exactly the same, and the instructions are very similar. If you ever need to cancel a document, you can definitely do that. So let's say this one proposed change 7, I'm going to cancel it. We're actually not proceeding with that anymore. So we will send a cancel document that has a watermark to the distribution list so that everyone knows this one has been canceled. Similarly, if you decide to go ahead, you can restore it. If you look at the pricing page here, we block you from double dipping. So this now has a lock sign on it and it says is allocated. We've already processed that on change order 8. So we make sure that once you process something, we lock it so you can't then issue it again on something else. If it is blue, it's under review. If it has this orange, it's in revision. So that would mean they didn't agree on the price and it has to be revised. And if it's green, it's accepted, but it's not yet on a change order. So when you're looking at the logs, have a look for any of these icons. If they're issued, they have this green check mark on the left-hand side, and you can follow the story along from left to right, looking at what the document contained, the cost, and the issued and created date. Same with pricing and same with instructions. The next workflow that we'll talk about is certificates. If I go into my settings here again, certificate, we call pay apps certificates, and we have a few different options for you. So in this display area, some people call this pay app, and so I will update my naming convention to match that. But if it's called a certificate for payment or those settings here, make sure you get your document assignee set up on the right-hand side, and that is who will come in and review the document with you if they need to review something. We have include a cover letter, a certificate, a change progress log, and schedule of values. The schedule of values is a spreadsheet that will be available in the app so that you can manually track progress against the schedule of values. But I won't dive into that too much. It's a feature that not everyone uses, but if you decide to implement that, you can search here and we give you a little breakdown of how to use it. So just type in schedule of values in the bottom right and we walk you through that guide on how you can utilize that feature. So pay applications or certificates or progress claims are something that your general contractor can upload for you at the end of the month by clicking this plus sign in the top right corner, and I'll click certificate here. You'll see that there's a few different options. If it was the general contractor, they can only pick the pay app. but because I'm logged in as a Prime consultant, I have additional controls. So for me, this is my pay app number 6, but I'm not going to jump right into the certificate. I actually want to review the pay app or the progress claim that the GC sent me. I'll say that this is my March 2026 pay app, payment start and end periods, invoice number from the general contractor, and then tax number as well as optional. It's from the general contractor, and then just drag and drop the file or the document that they gave you. Then you can select which consultants need to review this, and the Prime is added by default, so that's you. You don't need to assign them now though. So let's say that I've assigned this. I know like Part 3 tester and I need to come in and review this, but maybe as I'm going through this, I've realized that they're progressing against mechanical. I can just come into the top right and click edit and also add mechanical. You can add as many other attachments as you want as well. So build out your pay app here in any of the supporting documentation. And then on the right-hand side, this is where the consultants can leave their comments similar to pricing if it's fair and reasonable or rejected. For electrical, let's say it's rejected with comments, and mechanical, they're fine with it. You can use this annotation tools and any of the other tools across the top here to mark up the documents if you want. And so if you went through that request revision flow, then you can send it back to the general contractor. You know, maybe you need to provide backup. Maybe you're only 10% done of the mechanical rough-in, not 20%. Whatever the conversations are, you can go back and forth in that revision flow, similar to pricing documents, to make sure that you come to that agreed upon price by the time you get to the certificate. However, we don't want to block you from creating the certificate, even if someone has been rejecting it. So you can always convert that to a certificate when you're ready. If you've already issued a certificate, you could clone your previous one. So let's say I already had one from February, I could clone it and I'll pick up where I left off. But I'll show you what it looks like for a blank certificate. I'm going to fill out the owner name, my owner rep, and then the contractor. This information is going to be pulled onto my cover page. And now I'll show you what that looks like. This is an area where you can notify people that you're going to convert it to a certificate. But maybe they sent you the pay app, they're kind of in limbo, not knowing if this is actually going to be converted and if certificate coming from the consultants. So this is a little heads up you could give them to say like, yep, certificate's on its way, we've reviewed it, we agree. So here are the different options that I mentioned at the settings level. This is the cover page that we automatically generate for you. Everything in Part 3, when it's issued, has one combined PDF file. So this is what would go on the cover page. You control all of this language. You can use our different data points to populate it, but all of this is controlled by you. We just give you a little starting point here. Down here is the certificate itself. So we have our standard layout in Part 3 of a certificate. All of these dollar values, so contract value, that's the original one that I input. My approved change order to date is 51K, which we got from the last change order that I issued. So this is our revised contract value. If I click edit, I'll see at the top I have holdback rate and tax rate. Those are two different fields that you control, and obviously it impacts the calculations here. Now I have these auto calculating for me. We'll always give you these little reminders, by the way, of how things are calculated. I'm going to say the total value of work performed to date is $2 million and change. I haven't released any holdback yet, but if you were doing partial holdback releases, you could update this line item. I'm not holding back any money for deficiencies yet, but again, towards the end of the job, I could be doing that as well. And then I haven't previously certified anything yet. So we are calculating the amount due with the tax. This is the current payment. You'll see that you have this option on the right-hand side to override. And that's because sometimes pennies can be tricky. Depending on the GC, what accounting software they use might just be off by a penny, so we let you modify that if you need to. Scroll back up to the top and hit save, and all of that information is updated for you here, along with an area for you to sign off on it. If you're preparing this on behalf of someone else, you can scroll up here in the top right and click edit and change who is certifying this. So maybe Jonathan is certifying this one, but I just went in and got some things updated. Now it will say Jonathan and he can come in and put his signature on it. But if you're ready, you can sign here. We'll put that time and date stamp. I also showed in the settings we have something called a change progress log. This is where we would track for you your change orders that have been issued, only approved ones, but you could show under review ones if you wanted to. And then we surface the approved value and how much work has actually been completed to date. So similar to a schedule of values, this is information that normally the general contractor is presenting you with anyways, but human error is the thing. So we want to make sure that we're not letting you proceed past the dollar values entered. If they've entered a number incorrectly, missed a decimal, missed a number, then we're making sure that we're aligned with what was actually issued. So this is just a double check for you. You can always turn that off if you don't want to use it. And then of course I have my attachments here. We will also give you this progress on the right-hand side. A balance to complete will show up here. And you still have that comments area as well to communicate here with your other consultants, which is sometimes handy, especially in that pay app phase where you're reviewing. Maybe someone went to site more recently than you. Was this installed? You can have those conversations. When you're ready, you can click sign. You've got everything together. You've got your cover letter. You've updated your certificate, and then you can issue that. So this will be all sent out as one combined PDF. If you need to make a revision for any reason, you can click here and create a revision or add a final document. Add the final document exists for a lot of different workflows in Part 3, and that's if anything was signed or modified outside of Part 3 and you want to make sure you have the final record log somewhere. You can click that button here. You'll notice on a lot of our tools we have a plus beside here with some hidden things. And then on the next month, instead of clicking new, you would click clone. And now we're telling you that you're cloning over your information from March. So let's say I'm going to get into April now. Same thing, some basic information, the date that you receive the invoice, and then the actual invoice that you can attach. And now this time, instead of starting from scratch, we have that total value of work previously performed, also with the amount previously certified. So theoretically, if you're moving throughout your certificates, you really only need to be updating line item D until you start getting into some of the holdback releases and deficiencies. But other than that, you should just be updating row D, and we are continuing on where you left off. So now for this period, 2.7, previously 2.2, with a new balance to complete. So make sure you use that clone button every time that you're proceeding through your next month. And as a reminder, your general contractor can come in, upload their quotations or pricing documents, and upload their pay apps for you. If you ever have any questions or need a refresher, you can click this question mark in the bottom right corner and search for our documents. So if I search pay app here, and see how to clone, how to create, and what to do when I receive my monthly pay app.